Hi and welcome back again. This is part 2 of our lovely little lush red berry Christmas wreath thing. So do check out part 1 for how to make all the bits and pieces that we're using, where I'll show you how to tape it together in a wreath just now. I hope you enjoy the video. So just in case you missed it in part 1, here's the list of all the berries and bits that you need. And I'll also link it into the description for you so that you've got that list to hand when you're making all your berries and stuff. Right, so I have got about 20 little sprigs of 4 or 5 berries as we made the other day, and they're all lovely and glazed and taped together. So if you missed that video, you can find it in the guides. There's a guide especially for the berry wreath, so you will find it in there. So there's about 20 of those. You want 4 or 5 little pairs of rose hips. I think I might have there we are, there's 4 there, but I have a 5th one. I think there should be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, about 10 little sprigs. So I've got some with 2 leaves and some with 3 leaves. And again, we went through making these on that live last week. I also said on the live about covering some bits of 28 gauge wire in just with brown tape, and then these we just want to cut, I don't know, let's say cut them into quarters, and we can trim it down if we need to. So that's what all these little bits are here, and it's just because we can use them as little extra twiggy bits, give them a little bend and a shape, and they can just sort of thicken out the wreath and make it a little bit denser and fuller for us there. We're then going to want some brown tape. So I've got some brown tape here. That was the last of a roll. Let me see if I've got... That's black. Oh, yeah, I've got a little bit more here. And some 20 gauge wire. And that is everything that we need. If you've not got exactly the same bits, I can see there, Victoria, you said you've only got one lot of 3 leaves. That's absolutely fine. These are all going to come out a little bit different, yours to mine and mine to yours, etc. And that's absolutely no problem at all. Go with it. With sort of different hands have made the different components, so the end result will be a little bit different as well. So for mine, mine was a little tiny baby wreath, as you saw, that I fitted to go around this little candle thingy here. I got this one out of I just got it out of Hobbycraft. It was £2. I'm sure I've got some things like this somewhere in the house, but we've moved so many things around because of what we've been doing that there was no way I was going to find it, so I've treated myself to a new one. Something small, if you want to make a mini one like me, or equally if you wanted to do a bigger one to fit around a larger candle holder, then of course you can. You're just going to need to sort of expand on the number of things you've made and everything. Nikki, 22 gauge wire will be absolutely fine. It's just to give us a sort of custom sized ring to start with. The strength of the finished article really comes from all the stems on the wires, because of course by the time we've attached all of these, the whole thing is quite thick, but substantial, shall we say, as opposed to thick in a bad way or anything. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so I've got my bit of 20 gauge, and the first thing that I'm going to do is just wrap it around there and just make sure that you sort of hold those ends in. Now, of course, that is a tight fit, but the wonderful thing is that as soon as you let go of it, it's going to uncoil a bit like a spring, and then you can either sort of widen it open a little bit or indeed close it up. And because of having curled it around the candle thingy there, whether you open it or close it up, you're going to get a pretty good circle because you've given it that basic round shape. So for this to go round there, I want it to be a little bit bigger than it is at the base. So I'm going to go for about that, which is, oh no, the only ruler I've got nearby is in new money, so we're going to have to go centimetres. What's that? It's about 8 centimetres for this one. But again, you can judge it to the size of what you've got. And I will just tape that in place. So you can see where my wires are sort of overlapping each other. If I just bring some tape around this, it's going to hold that in place, but it also means you'll be able to actually see it. Because I realise at the minute I've got a clear glass with a white wire on a white table. So for this we're going to use full width tape, because our concern for this is keeping everything together more than it being neat, right? So it's going to be twiggy. So we can just do the full width tape, and of course because you've got to loop it through the circle there, it's quite handy if you cut it into sort of smallish bits. So we'll use lots of small bits, because then you're not fighting a great long tail sort of through the centre of your hoop each time you do it. Right, that's that bit almost done, and then I've just got, you can see there's just a little bit more of a what's name to pop together. There we are. And that now you'll be able to see. So if I pop that in the middle, you can see it's about 1/2 inch bigger. There we are, about 1/2 inch bigger than the bottom of my candle-y thing. And that should do, no problem at all. So let's do, I'm just going to arrange some pieces of tape, because as I say, you don't want them too long. And then also once you get going, you don't have to stop and put everything down too many times whilst you're wrestling with the roll of tape. So I'll get a few bits ready. And then we'll begin. So we'll start with our little berry sprigs. You can, actually, which way around was the original one actually? So everything is going to lean one way or the other way. You're either going to have all your berries on sort of leaning this way round or leaning that way round. So I think I'm going to go this way. I feel like sort of going from right to left is, you can do whichever you prefer. So I'll attach some tape to my little hoop. I'll take my first, no, I'm going to go this way round. There we are. So my berries are pointing off to the right and the tail is going to the left, like so. And we're going to position it and just like we would with a flower, wrap that tape round. With the tail here, just make sure it's sort of curved with the curve of the wire frame, because as we add more things and we keep doing the tape, of course, that tail's going to get caught there. So we've got that. We can add another little branch of berries. Again, berries on the right, tail on the left. We'll wrap that tape round. Of course, all of these are wired, which means as we go and then at the end we can give everything a poke and a prod and rearrange it. Keep bringing that tape across, and then if we want to, we can start adding a couple of little leaves. So again, can you see that I've bent them there so that the leaves are sort of sticking up from the wire tail there. Again, we'll wrap that tape. And I would say all you want to be mindful of really is that that's going to sit in the middle, so we can kind of bring everything out and away from that central hoop. And if you think of that in the middle, you kind of, the space you want the berries, the leaves and everything to occupy is sort of a 90-degree turn from sort of straight up over to the table, because it's that kind of space from there to there. So it's just bearing that in mind as we're adding bits on. So we'll keep going. Got lots of berries to add. There we are. And then of course we can have a little sprig of rose hips, is the phrase I was looking for. And I'm almost run out of tape here, so I'll curl that bit all the way around and we'll start a fresh bit. So we're just going to keep adding our berries as we go round, like so. And so this one, for example, you can see I've put this sprig here, it's kind of sticking up, so we can have another little cluster of berries quite close by, but that one's sticking this way so that we're covering that kind of 90-degree going around. It is maybe time now for some more little leaves. So this one happens to be a little, that's not sitting quite right. That was a sprig of 3, so actually I'm going to go for a sprig of 2. And this is the nice thing, that you can, you know, if you've got a few of each sitting there, you give yourself plenty of options of what it is that you would prefer to use and what suits that space. One thing that's quite nice with this, because it's wee, it's not too heavy, and because it's berries, they are of course very robust. So you need to mind the leaves a little bit, but everything else is strong enough that you can sort of move it around, and you don't need to be too careful. You know, it's not like wiring together flowers when you've got hundreds of delicate petals that just want to break and fall off and everything. So I think it's time to have another couple of rose hips. And as you can see, once you get started, it's actually fairly straightforward. You're just adding more things on, and as long as you're going, when you look at it, so you've got the berries on the right, take the tails on the left, and you're coming around this way, then like we said, all those tails are getting caught as you're going round with the tape, adding each bit anyway. There we are. Oh, broke my tape. It's all right, it'll stick back on. And then again we could have some more little leaves. So let me maybe bend these out. There we are, kind of away from the centre. These ones can go. What I might do is pull that berry forward for a second so that that leaf can go behind. Those berries go in front there, and then that way, do you see it's all sort of nicely enmeshed with itself. Where's that? Let's get that tape wrapped around so that that stays in position, because I like how that's sitting. Okay, so we've got a question from Maria. She says, when taping berries, etc. with brown tape, do you cover all of the green wire or leave the tips showing? So to be honest, I didn't bother taping up the individual berries there. So it's green wire and then they're taped with brown. The green is more than dark enough that once they're taped up like that, you really can't, it doesn't show at all. So there's no need to be taping each one up. So I would just leave them as they are and tape it together. If for some reason you were really worried about it, then what I'd probably do would be make them on the dark green, and then before I glaze them, just paint those wires with the brown. So do just make a little paint with some rejuvenator and some brown dust. Paint the stems if you wanted to, and then glaze them. And then of course the glaze will set the dust and you've got your brown stems, but it really doesn't show. None of these show. It's a more than dark enough green. So that would be my answer to you there. So let me grab another little bit of tape there, and we're just going to keep going round. And of course you can hold this however it is easiest for you to hold it and control all the parts. So I'll pop some more berries on. And we'll have, let's see, if I stick some more berries here, I think that I would definitely like a little bit of green just sort of underneath here. So I will take a little sprig of 2 leaves and I'm going to position them sort of low down just there so that they're sticking out sideways instead of upwards. Again, just carry on with the tape. And don't forget that we can come back and we'll rearrange all the angles and stuff. Okay. You can see, so I'm still adding bits and pieces there, and I will add a few more leaves, I think, and then we'll do the last of our rose hips. And then this is where things get just a little bit more tricky. I just mashed a leaf with the ends. Yeah, we'll try not to do that. Don't do that. Right. So this is a good point to just take a quick little pause and just have a wee look and make sure that everything is, you just want an even spread of colours, and of course we can move all of these bits and pieces around as we need to. I could do with some green under here, so I'll tuck those in because we don't want that sticking out too much. We could do with some green over here, so what I'm going to do is take one of these leaves, and can you see that I've just sort of twisted him round so that he's sitting under there now, because again, like I said, everything's all wired, which means that we can tweak and move and shape everything however it is that we want, so that things are sitting exactly in the position we want them to. When you get round to this bit, it just becomes a little bit more difficult, because of course we're going to be putting things here and the tails are extending round there. So continue as we were, like so. So I'll have these berries can attach just here, and we'll bring that round. We'll pop some more berries just there. Oh, rose hip fell off. We'll pretend that didn't happen. And can you see that for now I'm just leaving these tails loose? We are almost at the end there, meeting where we started. So I'm going to pop that one more sprig of berry. Let's bring this tape round because that's almost running out. So I'll attach a fresh bit. And then I think we could have a couple of extra little leafies just in here. So something like that. I can have maybe 2 leaves sort of sticking upwards and 1 sticking out again. So I'll bring that tape round. And then I just think I want a final little sprig of berries. Right, which will go there. And then this is where it gets a little bit difficult. So let me just weave that through there to get him, that last one, attached, and I'll show you a few little tricks that I've got for this. So we want these tails to be attached. If I hold it there, you can see. So these are the tails from the last bits, and of course a little bit more difficult to wrap round because all of this is in the way. So what we're going to do is take your tape and just twist up the end like that, so that we can then basically use that twisted up bit like a needle. So I'm not sure how much of this is showing up really well, but you can thread it through. You just want to find any gaps, poke it through, and then pick that up the other end, just as if you were sewing. And of course, once it's wrapped around, so we'll poke it through, and then you're just going to sort of pull on it gently but firmly, you know, so that it's tight enough to hold it all in place, but you don't want to yank so hard that it sort of tears the tape. And I think one more twist of tape just here. So again, I'll thread it through with my needle on the end, like that. And then that's my final bit, so I'm just going to tear that off, and we've got that there. Now we're nearly done, and I can see there's a few questions, so I'll finish this off and then I'll address some of those with you guys. I can swap the camera back and relax. So like we said, they are all wired. So that means we can make some poke outwards, upwards, leftwards, sidewards, whatever you need. We can check that it's going to sit around our thingamabob, which that does rather nicely. And then the final thing we're going to do is add those extra little twiggy bits. So that's what all of these were for. So like I said, it's just 28 or 26 gauge, whatever you've got, wire covered in brown, and I've just cut it into quarters. Fold it in half like that, and then what we can do is thread it around the main body of the wreath like so. Give it one or two little twists, and then because it's wires, we can lift it up and bend it and poke it into whatever shape you like, just so that it, like I said, it's just going to thicken up and fill everything out. So again, fold it in half, just twist once or twice to hold it in place, like so. And you can add as many or as few of these as you like. I liked it because I thought it just gave it that extra little fullness and twigginess, and it suited the whole situation. It gives you a few more things as well as just the leaves that can stick out. So it will help, because as I look at this now being sort of flat, all I can see is 1, 2, 3 leaves sort of sticking out on their own. So if I go around and put a few more of these, it just kind of it will break up those lines and everything, and it just gives you a little bit more control over the shapes and stuff. So we're just threading them through, twisting, and then giving it a little bit of a bend and everything. You guys are very cute as well, Julie, that is for certain. Now if I hadn't used up berries with that on that other project, I was going to make 2 of these, because where it's just a little thing, you could absolutely make 2, and then you've just got something slightly smaller that can sit, well, on your table, on your mantelpiece, whatever you like, because they're berries even with the horrible humid weather. Although we now have horrible frozen weather, I'm not sure at what point we're satisfied with the weather, but anyway, Yeah, because they're just berries, they won't melt. This will last forever. Look after and it'll be okay. The only thing you've got here that has any potential to go soft or be a liability at all is the leaves, and even then they're simple enough. It's not that. Right, let's just have a little look. So I think I could do with a couple of berries sticking out a little bit further, just here and here, and maybe over here as well. And I think in terms of twiggishness, that's not bad. You could maybe, in fact, I can bring that little twig round there perhaps. We could maybe have one more little twiggy just here. Because at this point it really is just a case of looking at it and going backwards and forwards until you've got as many little twigs and berries sticking out in the right direction and so on, as you wish. But I think that is about right. He's not sitting flat just because of, there we go, now it is. Much easier if you slide it over the top like so. And then of course we've just got to finish off with, there we are. Oh, it's gone out. Come on. You can do it. Hey, it came back. But yeah, so that is this year's little Christmas wreath. As I said, there's nothing stopping you making that that foundation hoop whatever size you want it. You would just need to make more berries. I think in my head when I first started this particular project, I had thought it was going to be bigger, and then I realised how many berries that was going to take, so I sort of wimped out and was like, you know what, we'll have a mini one for this year. So there we have it. Beautiful little berry wreath for Christmas. And of course you can keep it, like everything's glazed, so nothing's going to go off and whatnot, so you can certainly keep it for a long time. I've still got mine from a good few years back now. I hope you enjoyed that. Do join our group on Facebook. It's Natalie's Cake Studio, and you can pop some pictures up and show us what you make. And check out the website for classes and kit and colours and all those lovely things. The link is in the description below, and we'll see you again very soon.